Have you ever sat in front of your computer, watching tutorial after tutorial, and felt like you were going nowhere? It's a familiar story. Most of us try to learn new skills by soaking in endless videos, reading books, or scrolling through posts online. But if you ask anyone who has been there, they know that simply watching or reading isn't enough. Today, I'm going to show you a completely different way, a method that taps into the way your brain actually learns, using techniques backed by science. Imagine mastering a new skill at lightning speed with less frustration and more real progress. Sounds almost too good to be true, right? But stick with me, because what I'm about to share might change the way you learn forever. Let's start by looking at a common mistake we all make: falling into the learning trap. Picture this: you're eager to learn a new skill. Maybe it's playing the guitar, coding a website, or even cooking a new recipe. You find a few tutorials online, click play, and start absorbing information. For a while, it feels like you're making progress. You're busy, you're learning, and you feel smart. But then the moment of truth comes. When you try to do it yourself, your brain draws a blank. It's like trying to recall a dream you almost remember but can't quite grasp. You realize that all that watching didn't prepare you for actually taking action. This is the trap of passive learning, a trap that leaves you stuck, doing the same thing over and over without really moving forward. So, what's the secret ingredient that turns watching into doing? It's the power of struggle. I know that might sound odd at first. You might be thinking, I want learning to be easy. But here's the twist: when learning feels too easy, your brain isn't really growing. Real progress happens when things get a little hard. Think about riding a bike. You might fall a few times before you finally get it, but those falls teach you balance, making you a better rider in the end. This idea is called desirable difficulty. It means that the discomfort you feel when you struggle isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign that your brain is working hard to build new connections and improve your skills. That small struggle is what pushes you from knowing something in theory to being able to use it for real. Now, let's talk about a technique that might seem simple but is incredibly powerful: active recall. Imagine your brain is like a computer. When you watch a video or read a text, it's like the computer is saving some data. But if you don't go back and test that data, it's not really stored in the long-term memory. Active recall is the process of forcing yourself to remember the information you just learned. Instead of rewatching a video over and over, you close your eyes and ask yourself, what did I just learn? It's like giving your brain a mini workout. For instance, if you're learning a new guitar chord, instead of keeping the chord chart in front of you, try to play it from memory. This method might feel challenging at first, but each time you test yourself, your brain works harder to store that information. Over time, these little tests become like checkpoints in a game, making sure you truly know the skill rather than just recognizing it. But even the best self-tests aren't enough without the right feedback. That brings us to feedback loops, the built-in compass for any learning journey. Imagine you're playing a video game. Every time you press a button, you get instant feedback: a jump, a sound, a change in the game. That quick response helps you adjust your moves and improve your game. In real life, feedback loops work in a similar way. There are two types: positive feedback, which tells you, good job, keep it up, and negative feedback, which signals, hey, that wasn't quite right, try again. Both types are important. If you only get praise without knowing what to fix, you might not improve as fast. On the other hand, if you only get corrections, it can feel discouraging. The key is to get clear, actionable feedback so you know exactly what to adjust. Think of it like practicing a sport. If your coach tells you your foot placement is off, you can immediately correct your form. This instant feedback is what propels you forward, ensuring that each mistake is just another stepping stone toward mastery. Of course, simply gathering feedback isn't enough. You have to put what you learn into practice. This is where deliberate practice and real-world application come in. Many people mistakenly believe that the more theory they consume, the faster they'll get better. But real learning happens when you take that theory and use it. Imagine learning to play chess. You could read all the books and study every grandmaster's strategy, but until you sit down and play, those strategies remain just ideas in your head. When you practice, you're not only applying what you know, but you're also discovering the gaps in your knowledge. That's why deliberate practice, focusing on one thing at a time, testing it, failing, and then trying again, is so crucial. It's the process of learning by doing, where every error becomes an opportunity to refine your technique. By applying your knowledge in the real world, you only learn what you need, right before you need it. This way, you avoid wasting time on information that might never be used and focus on what truly makes a difference. Now, let's look at one more secret to speeding up your learning curve: learning from experts. Think about climbing a mountain. Would you rather join a group of beginners who are unsure of every step, or would you prefer a seasoned team who knows exactly where to step and when to move? The same logic applies to learning any skill. Surrounding yourself with experts can be a game changer. Experts have already made the mistakes and found the shortcuts. They can see the blind spots in your technique that you might never notice on your own. When you're around someone who has mastered the skill, their language, their tips, and even the way they think can rub off on you, you start to adopt their methods and, more importantly, their standards. That gentle pressure of knowing you're among people who are better than you pushes you to improve faster than if you were working alone. It's not about feeling small. It's about realizing that growth happens when you step outside your comfort zone and learn from those who have been there before. So, what does all of this mean for you? It means that if you're tired of being stuck in a loop of endless tutorials and wish you could actually start seeing progress, it's time to change your approach. Stop passively absorbing information and start actively testing your brain. Embrace the struggle because that's where real learning happens. Ask for and listen to feedback. Use every mistake as a lesson, and don't be afraid to fail a few times. It's all part of the journey. And finally, seek out those who have already mastered the skills you're aiming for. Let them guide you, show you what you might be missing, and inspire you to push harder. Imagine what your life could look like if you learned faster. Picture yourself confidently picking up a new hobby, acing a subject at school, or even mastering a professional skill that once seemed out of reach. The tools are already there: the power of active recall, the insights from feedback loops, and the wisdom of deliberate practice and expert guidance. All you need to do is start. Take a moment right now and think about that skill you've been putting off. What if, instead of watching one more video, you took 5 minutes to test yourself? What if you recorded yourself and asked a friend for honest advice? What if you joined a community of people who are as eager to learn as you are? I know it can feel a bit scary to change the way you learn. It might seem easier to stick with what you know, even if that method isn't really working. But the truth is, every minute you spend in the comfort of passive learning is a minute lost on building real skill. It's like trying to build a house on sand instead of solid ground. When you challenge yourself, even if it feels uncomfortable at first, you're laying down a strong foundation for future success. Remember, every expert was once a beginner. They too struggled, made mistakes, and had to push through moments of doubt. But they didn't give up. They learned to use every tool at their disposal, from testing themselves to seeking out honest feedback. And now, with each new challenge they face, they grow a little bit more. You can do the same. As you wrap up this video, think about your own learning journey. What's one thing you could do differently today? Maybe it's taking a break from rewatching that tutorial and instead writing down what you remember. Or perhaps it's asking someone for a bit of guidance on something you've been struggling with. The key is to take that first step and trust in the process. Progress might be slow at first, but every little test, every bit of feedback, and every moment of deliberate practice brings you closer to your goal. So here's the challenge. Next time you sit down to learn something new, leave the comfort of passive watching behind. Embrace the small struggles, seek out clear feedback, and practice until what once felt hard becomes second nature. Your brain is ready for it. Your future self will thank you for the effort you put in today. In the end, learning isn't about how much information you can cram into your brain. It's about how you use that information to grow, improve, and eventually master a skill. With active recall, honest feedback, deliberate practice, and the guidance of experts, you have everything you need to turn your learning journey into a success story. So go ahead, take that leap, and start learning the way your brain was meant to. There's no magic pill, no secret shortcut. There's just a smarter, more engaging way to learn, one that builds you up with every step you take. And if you start now, who knows how far you can go? Let today be the day you stop watching from the sidelines and start taking control of your own progress. The next time you face a challenge, remember that struggle is not your enemy. It's the signal that you're on the right path to growth. Now take a deep breath, trust your brain, and dive into that new skill with passion and persistence. You have the power to learn faster than you ever thought possible. And with every test, every piece of feedback, and every moment of deliberate practice, you're building a stronger, smarter version of yourself. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey and let the progress begin.